What a weekend's worth of racing it's been, and we're going to have more as we've got one of those famous double headers now in the 2K World Cup presented by DES Simulation. We are here in Montreal, Canada for 2 epic races to come here on Racebot TV and on iRacing Live. Our coverage will start in just 1 moment's time.
I want to leap over buildings, want to fly over the shores, faster than a lightning flash, rushing through the cool night air. So start ignition, count to 0. I just wanna be a superhero. With fearless thoughts, emotions swirled, I wanna be the man that saves the world. So start ignition, count to 0. I just wanna be a superhero.
Bienvenue, Quebec. Welcome to Canada. Welcome to Montreal and to a doubleheader in the 2K World Cup presented by DES Simulations, rounds number 10 and 11. And last time out, of course, at New Hampshire Motor Speedway, it was Philippe Labeur who won. Philippe Labeur, who right now has a 40-point advantage in terms of the championship, with the best 7 of 9 results counted so far. Brian Lockwood currently second place in the championship, with Bortazzo not far behind in third. Paul Malokas and Andrew Picorio running out your top 5. Track temp as we are getting ready for qualifying for our first race. 19 degrees Celsius, 35% humidity, it's cloudy and it's breezy. First race today we're going to be doing for 7 laps. Then we take our top 10, invert them around, and we do a full 2K race distance. It's Wilkinson along with Jake Sperry. As well, Jake, qualifying is underway, standard rules apply, go as fast as you can, but this time then do a sprint race to get yourself ready for our feature event a little bit later on.
And the big worry, I think, that a lot of drivers are going to have about this sprint race is that even though it's a sprint race, Will, it scores exactly the same points as a regular race does. So there is added importance of qualifying well, because if you can't get points in this opening race, you are hemorrhaging a lot of points when it goes to the overall. And I'll say something right now, Philippe Labeur did not look comfortable at all in practice. He was 0.8 of a second slower.
But we're on board of the championship leader right now. And for Philippe, I mean, what he can do is try and just make sure he gets inside the top 10, although that back end stepping out on that TT Racing car as they work through turn number 5. He can try and just make sure he finishes inside the top 10, get himself the inverted grid spot, and then go for victory maybe in race number 2. He has got 1 race he can try and burn maybe if he needs to, and he's got the points advantage to help a little bit there.
he does have the points advantage, and he'll be hoping that Brian Lockwood does not have a good race here today. And for Philippe Laibert, he is the master of doing what is required, and I think this has been such a topsy-turvy series. We've seen so many different winners this season, and we've seen so many guys who have put themselves inside of the top 10. I think Philippe Laibert has been the most consistent driver in the field, followed very swiftly by Brian Lockwood. But there are names up and down this field who have been there, but not quite thereabouts. Qualifying times coming in. Zazo currently the quickest. Diogo Francisco, though, jumps to the front, with now Arjen de Freitas in third.
Yeah, and talking about winners this season, Aero Nom, Adam Blocker, Vinny Rocha, Philippe Laibert. Then it's been 2 in a row for Jordi Lopez Jr. Andrew Vicorio has actually got himself a race victory. And then it's been 2 more for Philippe Laibert. Coming past the start-finish line for Philippe Laibert, first lap in. And he is going to do himself a 152.202. That puts him down in 6th place right now. Alfredo Malo, he is leading the way after the first lap. What we do know is there's some drivers, Jake, who go much faster on lap 2 compared to lap number 1. Some drivers, they still improve on lap number 2, but not by as much.
Not by as much, and Alfredo Malo for Teo Martin Esports, arguably the now #1 biggest team in Spain. Maybe you could argue NWS Esports is up there along with the likes of Odox, but you're looking at a team with Vodafone sponsorship. You're looking at a team that is really looking to kick on forward. Alfredo Malo is arguably the driver that does probably the most for that team, apart from GoPro Pablo Lopez. I think that he has so much that he has to offer when it comes to this 2K World Cup, that I think he needs to actually go out there and get some better results, because I've never seen Alfredo Malo really showcase his true potential when it's come to this series.
Yeah, he is going to come past the line in about 25 seconds time. Of course, this long back straightaway at Montreal, it's been a site of so many famous passes over the years. And then that final wall of champion chicane coined, of course, because in 1999, if you're a Formula 1 world champion in the past, you decided that you wanted to say hello to it. Borgesazo up into 2nd place. Malo taking a lot of curb then as he works himself into that wall of champion chicane. Nicholas Loffman up places. Simon Edwards up places. What's it going to be for Malo? 151.842 last time by. Jordi Lopez Jr. goes faster, and Malo goes even faster still. So Malo, 151.583. John Sully up into P number 6 right now. And Johnny Guindy out of nowhere.
RKO, and Tipton moves up to 2nd position. The times continue to start flying down. Fahim Antonides is on his 2nd flying lap in the Thrustmaster Movano machine. I think Philippe Laibert is not going to go any quicker. So you look at the likes of Tuan Tran looking to get times. And right now, you have to say Laibert in position 5. That's okay. He's ahead of Brian Lockwood, exactly what he needed. But now it's about, okay, how many more times are going to start gaining? Matt Defoe crosses the line, 52.8. He doesn't like this circuit, does Matt Defoe. Positive sim racing colours. Lucas Loyart, though, hasn't set a time as of yet. He needs something.
Yeah, and Fahim Antonides then as he comes out the final corner. 151.345 the time to beat. Fahim can qualify very well when things go his way, but it's not going to be the case right now. 152.895. That is all the way down in P number 28. And the thing about qualifying here is if you do end up having a bad qualifying for race number 1, you've basically got to work yourself up into the top 10. Otherwise, your day's ruined twice.
Yeah, and that's going to be crucial, because you've got to get that top 10. If not, you've got to get 11th through 15. That's crucial. Greg Seitz, for example, in 17th position. We know how good Greg Seitz can be. On his day, he can win any race that he wants to. But it's just that we don't see enough of the number 74 machine up at the front. He crosses the line, 51.9. That moves him to 9th position. That's exactly where he needs to be, exactly how he needs to start pushing. Tyler Hervius is always someone who can make some times. He's P16 for now.
Yeah, as we're just having a look then if there's any other drivers. Tran Tram in P number 11. as it stands in
Brian.
qualifying. And Brian Lockwood, yeah, up into second place. Well, let's put the pressure back on then to Philippe Labeur. Labeur's done all of his qualifying laps, and now it's Brian Lockwood who's moved himself up into P2. Lockwood now has the opportunity to have a fantastic weekend and close down that battle that's going on in terms of your championship lead.
And that's going to be so vital, because he wants those points, he wants those positions, and he knows the caliber of drivers he's putting in between himself and Labeur, a two-time winner this season in Jordi Lopez Jr., Alfredo Malo, who can always go out there and cause an upset, and Justin Tipton as well. Okay, maybe not so helpful, but Justin Tipton's still another vehicle in between. Brian Lockwood's only got Johnny Guindy to work with, and remember, Guindy has had such an atrocious season that he is basically out of any championship fight. I think it's in his best interest to help Brian Lockwood because of the history that Guindy's had with Labeur.
Lucas Loyard up into P17 in qualifying. Having a look at one of the last drivers in your field, Dom Parks, who does still have a straightaway to go. He will get back to the line, I think, in time. Edwin Valerino then up into P14. Your 1 second bracket, to quote Rachel Whiteford from Monday Night Skippies, is actually not as big as some people would have expected. There's only 16 drivers who have qualified within a second of Johnny Guindy, but let's be honest, that was a fantastic lap there by the 109 and ruined on the final corner there for Dom Parks. So not going to be qualifying that he needs here today. Tyler Herviers is on track, and he's going to cross the start-finish line. Does he do a lap? Yes, he does. He moves up into 8th.
That's a good lap from Tyler Herviers. That's exactly what you expect from Tyler Herviers, a very underrated driver who often should do more and is doing a very good job. And that, my friend, is qualifying.
Qualifying is in the book. So let's run you through then your starting grid for round number 1 here of your 2K World Cup double header. Johnny Guindy then, pole position for the 109 machine, and Brian Lockwood 0.06 of a second further back. Row number 2, you've got yourselves Justin Tipton and Alfredo Malo, with row number 3 being Jordi Lopez Jr. and championship leader Philippe Labeur. Row 4, Borges Arzo and Tyler Herviers. Row number 5, Diego Francisco and Greg Zeet. Row number 6, Simon Edwards, Tran. Row number 7, Don Sully and Nicholas Loffman. Rest of qualifying coming up on your screen for you now. Nice big field here in the 2K World Cup today. Double header, as we talked about. Only 7 laps for this first race. And then we go to a feature. Full-length distance for the 2K World Cup. Almost ready to get this show on the road. Don't forget, of course, Monday Night Skippies. You can check out every Monday night at 9 p.m. UK time. That is 8 p.m. currently, GMT/UTC. There we are, 41 drivers there as they're all now starting to line up. We are almost ready to get going then for what is going to be a fantastic evening's worth of racing. And it's Johnny Guindy, as we say, who's going to be at the front of your field. Now let's turn our attention to the starting grid and the drivers that are on it. There we are, ready to go almost then in terms of the 2K World Cup race number 1. Going to be a shorter one. I really hope there's no safety car, because otherwise it's going to be a real sprint race. But we should be able to hopefully keep it clean. These drivers know that having a bad race number 1 can really make your day difficult, not only in terms of getting a decent finish, but of course in terms of getting those point hauls as well. Lights are now on top of the iRacing gantry, ready for race number 1 here at Montreal, Canada. And we're underway. It's always a bit of a slower start here in the slower Skip Barber machines, but they're going to form it down in towards turn number 1 for the first time in that battle for the race lead. It looks all nice and calm and collected for the moment. As behind, they've got 2 Wide Racing. There's been a little bit of bumping, but not too much now as they work themselves out of 1, out of 2, down into your first chicane here at Montreal. It's a street circuit feel here, and these drivers kind of know that one as well. Through they come, and out front, Guindy leads, Lockwood still second, Tipton in 3rd place, Malo in 4th, then Lopez Jr. and Philippe Labeur's fallen back a position by the looks of it. He's currently running down in P at number 7, Jake.
Yes, Borjazazo has made the way through in the Campos Racing machine. Now Tyler Hervius will look to play the aggressor, and you can't afford to be caught out early because you need to start pushing incredibly quickly in a sprint race. Tipton, the man under pressure, though. A small gap between him and Brian Lockwood, which is exactly what Lockwood needs right now. Alfredo Mallow needs to start pushing because he wants results. Jordi Lopez Jr. wants results in the Evolution Racing Team machine as well, but it's Johnny Guindy versus Brian Lockwood, exactly what Lockwood wants.
Yeah, and there is that driver of Lockwood. We go on board of him. And he gets a better run, actually, out of that hairpin. The 109 machine. Go.
Oh, I was looking just behind, actually, to the mid-pack, and I believe that was Simon Edwards getting a massive up on 2 wheels at the hairpin. They were 3 wide as they went through. It was Simon Edwards, it was Tuan Tran, it was John Sully on the inside and up on 2 wheels. How does he keep that one upright?
Yeah, let's have a look. There we are. Simon Edwards bouncing around. Now, we know the suspension is hard as nails in these Nella Skip Barber machines, but I will say one thing, that was fantastic there by Simon Edwards. Lockwood has taken away the race lead from Johnny Guindy. Then for the time being, Lockwood to the lead of this motor race, and that's exactly what he needed to do. Live timing and scoring, of course, for both races available. Visit racebot.tv/timing for that one. So Lockwood leads early. To give you an update on other championship rival, Philippe Burr, he still remains in P number 7. Alfredo Mello right now, he's doing a good job, actually. He's still right on the rear of Justin Tipton, and your top 4 drivers are the ones that's broken away a little bit. There's a gap between Mello and Zazo that started to form between P number 4 and 5.
And that's going to be so vital, because if that gap starts forming and if Leiber's stuck in the second train, he's got nowhere else he needs to go. But crucially, Leiber's not attacking. He's having to defend because Tyler Hervius is causing a few issues. There's Diogo Francisco and Greg Seitz, 2 teammates just behind us. Behind all of that, John Sully side by side. This is Nicholas Loafman looking to go down to the inside, and he will make that one look very nice. They both run a little bit wide. That would allow Tuan Tran maybe a half an opportunity as they make the runs further forward. But this hairpin has been proven that overtakes seem like that place.
Yeah, we've just had Arian De Freitas out of the event. We showed a replay of that one. As it seemed to be that De Freitas had an incident that turned into a second incident that actually involved a number of cars in it afterwards. Don Park, Simon Edwards, and El Leroy Coppage are so far classified out of the event, as is Arian De Freitas. I think all the other drivers involved in that one with De Freitas has decided to stay out on track for the time being. Between Tipton and Johnny Guindy, by the way, the gap has come down now to 0.3 of a second. So after passing Maloir, Tipton has brought himself and that pack back into play just a little bit. But here's Guindy right now as he's trying to work himself back towards the front. But actually, no, he did the whole, let's lift out, let's wait for a bit, and let's go for it at the end.
Man games is the way that I like to see that one, Will. And with this massive train that stretches all the way back to Greg Seitz, it's all about how do you manage this train, how do you pick and choose your moments, and a lot of drivers picking and choosing the moments. But behind it, side by side, Tuan Tran versus Nicholas Loafman. This one for P11, P12. Loafman on the inside defending. Tuan Tran unable to make the attack. And now Edwin Viorino, who is having arguably the best race of his season so far in P13. He's thinking, come on, can I take one more? I reckon I could.
Yeah, but the issue is right now, in terms of the rules for this event, it's your top 10 who get inverted, and only your top 10. As we're having a look at Valerino right now versus Tran, and well, the gap's 0.4 of a second between them. The issue is that between Greg Zeet and Nicholas Loafman right now, the gap is 4.2 seconds. Greg Zeet could have the easiest race of his 2K career right now. He can stay in 10th place and be on pole position for the next one.
He could, but I think that the reason why the drivers behind are pushing so much is that they know they can't get 10th, but you'd much rather have 11th than you would, say, 15th. So that's why you're seeing them push so hard. Again, Brian Lockwood under pressure as the halfway stage ends it on this lap as we head to lap 4 of 7. Guindy thinking about going to the outside to make the move, and he will. So less overspeed happening then for Brian Lockwood, and he hopes it's only just one that he's going to be losing. He falls very quickly back into line as he looks to try and get the charge through the final chicane, and it just seems to me that it's trading at the front. Everybody else does not have a chance at the moment.
Yep, and there is a look at your top 10. They're all in one shot. Johnny Gilles does also set the fastest lap of the day so far. You can also get social of us, of course, /RaceSpot TV, at RaceSpot TV on Twitter. Let us know how your weekend's worth of sim racing has been. On board of Felipe Burr, started 7th, running 7th right now. Sorry, started 6th, running 7th even. So he's lost one position, but again, like a number of drivers in this build, they want to make sure they maintain their top 10 positions. Some drivers has had issues today. Carl Drunke, David Ansel have had issues. We've got something, yeah, Jordi Lopez Jr., that's a big lunge there. And he's going to try and make it work then on the exit of the corner. In fact, let's go 3 wide, shall we, on the run up to the second chicane right now. And in the battle for that one, they kind of decided to settle it down a little bit. Mallow is leading from Lopez Jr., then Zaze, then Leibert in this battle. And I think now Leibert's thought, okay, I can get one position. We've got a car off, 2 cars off, 3 cars off, and there's a big hole, and someone's just gone through that one, and it's oh, actually, Felipe Burr is one of these drivers that's been involved in it. That was a crazy incident there.
Yeah, it was massive, and Borgesazzo, third in the championship, gets involved. It is glorious for Mr. Brian Lockwood, as he knows that he needs 3 laps led to gain an extra bonus point in this one as well. That was probably Greg Seats threading the needle as things stood along with Diogo Francisco, but now all of a sudden it's train of 4 at the front of the field, exactly what's needed. It's 3 wide behind in the second pack, and Brian Lockwood's going up to the front of the field once more, but now Greg Seats versus Hervius versus Lopez behind. Lopez on the back of this one, and Felipe Burr is in all sorts of trouble. Viorino on the outside trying to hold position, unable to make the move as a vehicle comes in, and that's Loafman.
Yep, so Loafman issues then for him. Felipe Burr now is in a very dangerous situation. If he finishes 10th, yes, he'll have pole position for the next race. If he finishes 11th, he will start 11th for the next race here today. One driver who's doing a fantastic job right now is Tyler Hervias in the number 121 machine. But Jordi Lopez Jr. was just trying to sneak that nose down to the inside on the run in towards this chicane. Wasn't able to do so, so they stayed where they are for the time being. Your top 4 drivers now have broken away. Lockwood, Gilles, Tipton, and Mallow are. And the question is, how hard and how aggressive are you going to be, knowing that getting it wrong, and we've seen some big last lap moments, of course, in 2K World Cup history, Jake. Getting it wrong here does hurt you twice.
It does hurt you twice, and the big worry for Brian Lockwood is, yes, he's got a championship to think about. All the drivers behind him do not. And that much is very, very telling. They're racing for a win. Lockwood's racing for a championship. I wonder if Lockwood would be satisfied with second position here if it meant that he was not going to get involved in an incident, if it meant that he wasn't going to run into troubles as he takes the big wide line coming out of the hairpin, as it's 2 packs of 4 that things stand, with Leibert pulling away from 10th as down the inside of the hairpin. Orion Race Team's Francois Boulian makes light work of Anthony Catt, who wants to try and get back. So a lot of positions being gained, but as things stands, Leibert's on pole, and now it's a battle for second, as that was Tipton trying to make a move.
Yeah, and that's Gilles, Tipton all going at it, but Lockwood leads the way out of the Wall of Champion chicane. The gap is currently about 5 tenths per second. By the way, we saw a replay. Michael Hafferson and Craig Malcolm involved in an incident, and Michael had himself a solo incident through that first chicane, and then Chris Malcolm basically came in, just saw some dust, had nothing he could do on that one at all. Battle that's going on for P number 10. Leibert does have now a 1 second advantage over Edwin Valerino. It looks as though that Tran, he's got this awful habit of starting race 2s on pole position. The way it's going on, as Leibert's catching up to him, it could be Tran starting on pole position in a double header once again.
It could do. Antoine Tran, who has been so up and down, he may as well be pretty much on a roller coaster. It could be one of those races again for him. He's got to make sure that he is in position to try and get his second career victory in the Skip Barber 2K World Cup. Diogo Francisco, though, applying the pressure on Greg Seats. This one for position number 5, Will, as Tyler Hervius wants to start thinking about making moves. I wonder, though, how much you wait, though, in this series. We saw the big incident happen on lap number 4, but now suddenly it's about make sure you consolidate this, because when they cross the line, white flag gets rolled out.
Yep, it's a short race for race number 1. Of course, we've got the feature, which will be coming up in about 15 minutes from now here on RaceSpot TV and on iRacing Live. Diego Francisco then still in P number 6, battling it out with Greg Zeitz et al. Down in your field, by the way, we haven't had the chance to show you as many of the battles going on, but there are battles going on. Here's one side for the end, as we've got 3 wide going on ahead of them, as they'll come down in towards the wall of champion chicane. Mighty close racing that's going on, both in your first pack and in your second pack. Justin Tipton leads the way as we come to the white flag lap. One more lap of this one to go, and they're going to go 3 wide again as they come into that first set of corners. And who's going to win it? For the moment, it's going to be Lockwood, but they almost make contact. They do make contact. And well, Lockwood then, he's just dodged a huge bullet. Or has he? So I take that one back. He hasn't. He's lost it there down into P number 4. Brian Lockwood, well, he could have almost have been completely out of this one. And he's hit the wall. He's just hit the wall. That car is undrivable, and this is what we meant. If you take too much in a short race like this, you now have to hope, and that car is not getting itself back to the end of the lap. I guarantee it right now. He might end up having to park this car. Brian Lockwood, well, he's holding on for dear life, as what is all going on here? It's been absolutely crazy here. It's showing the checkered flag is out. The checkered flag is not out, by the way. Just timing and scoring glitch. But Brian Lockwood, he's holding on for dear life. Johnny Gilles does lead this race right now, and Gilles is looking as though that he now is just got to deal with Mallow and Justin Tipton. But we're keeping our eye out, because Lockwood's lost 1, he's lost 2, he's lost 3 positions. Lloyd, he's got to try and hope that he can just hold it now down this long back straightaway. Lockwood could dodge one of the biggest bullets of his 2K World Cup career if he can just keep that car pointing in somewhat of a straight line. But here is Mallow. He's going for it as they come down to the final corner. Alfredo Mallow looking to try and take it. More contact. Mallow turned around into the wall of champion chicane, and it's going to be a battle. Johnny Gilles versus Justin Tipton to the line, and Johnny Gilles is going to wrap up a crazy race number 1. We've got cars in the walls. We've got cars who are just weaving all over the place, and it looks as though Lockwood is going to finish in P number 6, Philippe Labert in P number 7. But that really did get crazy on that last lap. It all started down at turn number 1. For a moment, it looked as though that Brian Lockwood would not be able to complete the lap, Jake. Then we had ourselves the incident with Mallow down at the wall of the champion chicane just then. I am not quite sure if we've ever, well, we have had a crazy lap like this before, but not a lap the way that we've just seen in a short sprint race like this. And here's a look then at the replay as we go on board. There we are, Alfredo Mallow just getting turned around at the wall of champion chicane, and he was going for victory, as we're going to have another look from our aerial coverage brought to you by And1 Design. Wow.
That is a wow, Will, and I think not many sim racers here are good or good readers, shall we say, because they haven't got any sense or sensibility on that final lap. I can say that much at the moment, because that was crazy, almost to the point of ridiculousness, because there were 2, maybe even 3 separate incidents on that final lap, which you could call questionable at best, because they decided, okay, it's time to work 3 wide. And yes, it's okay to go 3 wide, but when you're putting your race at risk at the amount that someone like, say, Brian Lockwood was putting his race at risk, he's dropped himself 5 positions because he put that race at risk. He was going to be, at the start of that final lap, 9 positions ahead of Philippe Labert. By the end of that lap, he was 1 position ahead of Labert. That is a win for Philippe Labert, if ever there was one. And look at that, though, for Edwin Viorino. Career best finish, and now he gets a pole position.
Yeah, he does. As we're having a look then at Brian Lockwood, the replay of this one. Down towards turn number 1. 109 machine, Johnny Gilles alongside, going 3 wide then with the driver of Justin Tipton. And Lockwood's the driver there, by the way, who slid up the most across the racetrack through turn number 1 and 2.
Yeah, he did, Will. And I think that he shut the door on Johnny Guindy, and Guindy had nowhere to go. But at the same point, he given the room back. He left a bit of room on the inside as well for turn number 2. It was just the fact that Guindy couldn't stop it. And let's not forget that Johnny Guindy is only just at the last race served a penalty, which meant he had to start from the back of the field.
Yeah, just having one more look then. And you're right, yeah, Guindy couldn't slow it down. It was just very aggressive driving, probably some of the more aggressive driving that we've seen in the history of this series, especially, as I say, on these heat races. And there's always a risk when you come to these heat races that it does just go completely crazy. And the thing is, of course, as a consequence, the driver on Mallow is not going to be in your inverted top 10. He'll be down in P number 15. Here's a look then at your top 10 from race number 1 here of the Skip Barber 2K World Cup. Justin Tipton. Victory by Johnny Guindy and a crazy last lap. And ironically, Tipton, he did have the advantage coming to the white flag. He also somehow manages to hold on for race victory. Johnny Guindy in second place. Greg Zeitz, he had a quiet one, didn't he? But he came in third place. Diego Francisco in P number 4. Yodi Lopez Jr. in 5th. And Brian Lockwood, after crashing in that last lap twice, somehow manages to bring that car home inside your top 10 to be a part of that inverted grid. But he's only one place ahead of Felipe Barber in the standings. Tran in 8th place. Tyler Hervey is in 9th. Edwin Valerino gets pole position then for race number 2 in a day that a Hispano-American driver in Formula 1 had a historic day. There's one for Edwin Valerino to add to his own personal list. Behind, you've got yourself Lucas Lorach, who has the most unlucky position in the field, starting in P number 11. Then James McIffrey, Francois Boulien, Anthony Catt, Alfredo Mallow, Miguel Garcia Sanchez, Fran Costello, Devon Singh, Fahim Atanides, and Matt Defoe. They are your top 20. Remainder of the results are coming up on your screen. Jake, to quote Taylor Swift, I never like quoting Taylor Swift. I think there might be a bit of bad blood going into the next race.
Oh, I think there may be, because there was a lot of questionable driving towards the end. You had Jordi Lopez Jr. and the likes of Felipe Barber, which happened on lap 5. That was absolutely ridiculous in terms of what happened for Barber, because he was thrown aside. How Barber has managed to make 3 positions in the final lap, it ceases to amaze me just how much misfortune Barber has. But the way that he is able to get fortune to come back to him in races, that's why Barber is leading this championship. But take nothing away, I think Justin Tipton doesn't get the credit he deserves, because twice he went for it. He went 3 wide at the end of lap 5, or looking to go for it at the start of lap 6. He threaded the needle, he made the move. But on the final lap, he had to go around the outside of Guindy at the Wall of Champions to take the race victory.
Yeah, it was actually fantastic there by Justin Tipton. The thing is, though, the start of the race, that was okay. And then we had the craziness on lap number 4, then the craziness on the final lap. I mean, at least they're listening to part of the briefings when they say behave in the first lap, Jake.
Yeah, but you've got to behave on all the rest of the laps as well. There's no such thing as just behave on the first lap, because
well, you tell that to Verstappen.
Yeah, well, yeah, you sort of have to, and I'll tell that to Ricardo as well. Multi-21, please. But I certainly think that, you know, the drivers need to calm down a bit. This is not the standard that we normally see in the 2K World Cup. We normally see clean racing, we see effective racing, and I think that a lot of drivers have got themselves a syndrome where their eyes are bigger than their bellies, and they want to go for positions, and they want to get positions, but they don't understand that it doesn't matter where they finish right now. All that matters is a top 10, Will.
Yeah. Thanks to all the guys watching, of course, on YouTube Gaming. We have got race number 2. That will be coming up then in the 2K World Cup, presented by DES Simulation, the title sponsor of the 2K World Cup. But for the moment, we're going to step aside for a quick commercial break, get ourselves ready for what will be a full-length feature event. And that will be coming up in just a couple of moments' time here on Racebot TV, as ever, streaming live on iRacing Live. We'll be back in just a couple of moments' time.
I want to leap over buildings, want to fly over the shores, faster than a lightning flash, rushing through the cool night air. So start ignition, count to 0. I just wanna be a superhero. With fearless thoughts, emotions swirled, I wanna be the man that saves the world.
Here of the Indianapolis Motor Speedway. Will it be Tim Hogan? It's going to be Christopher DeMerick at the line. Okay, guys, I think we've had our excitement now. We want a lot of excitement in race number 2, but let's all keep it on the racetrack. It was a crazy race number 1 that saw a number of high-profile incidents. Felipe Barber had one. Brian Lockwood had one. Lockwood, he almost binned his race away on the white flag lap, the 7-lap sprint race, but he's able to keep it going for now, at the very least, and he was able to gain 7 points in the championship battle over Felipe Barber. The thing that's worth noting is that you got 4 points for this first race, and you'll get 4 points for the second race. Only difference is, this race is 3 times as long as the first one, as we welcome you back then to coverage of the 2K World Cup, presented by DES Simulation here from Circuit Gilles Villeneuve, Montreal, Quebec, Canada. And well, let's have a look. Weather for race number 2. It's warmed up a little. It warmed up on track, Jake. It's warmed up in terms of the heat as well. 22 degrees Celsius compared to 19 degrees earlier. The wind speeds come down a little bit, and my God, it's a bit more humid now.
Oh, you bet it is, and it's so important to get this second race correct because they've only got 2 opportunities to score points after this event at Gilles Villeneuve, both of which come in the United Kingdom. A race at Donington, Will, and a race finale at Snetterton. So work to be done for these drivers, and the work that needs to be done here, especially with a bit of changing weather conditions as well. It's always going to be difficult to work out what's going to be going on. And I think that this second race, this is going to test here the drivers' mentality and fragility as well. They need to score points, and they need to score clean points as well. They can't afford to get penalties heading into the final 2 rounds of the championship.
The 2K World Cup is presented by DES Simulation, proud title sponsor of one of the longest tenured Skip Barber series in all of iRacing. Want to give a shout out to Isman Balaus and TrackCams22.com, Andy Warner and One Design for overlay design, development, and ATVO, Simon Grossman at Engineering.com, and Nick Thiston for RaceSpot TV. Live timing and scoring, which will all be available once the race commences. So, we're back to normality in some way. 21 laps, 45 minutes or thereabouts, Shake, and of course these guys will have to make a pit stop within that time as well. Pit window here, well, it's an interesting one because you actually want to try and find a bit of space sometimes on this track. Drafting can also be important. That window really is anywhere from about lap number 9 through to about lap number 15 or so. But coming on towards pit road here, you basically have to have balls of steel and hope that there's someone not ahead of you trying to turn into the wall of champion chicane.
Oh, you certainly have to agree with that one, Will, because when you look at this circuit, when you have that straight-on pit entry, that can be a nightmare for drivers to try and get down, because if you want to come down in, you've got drivers ahead of you, you have to check up. Someone at the front of the field can just breeze on by straight in. Track position becomes a lot more vital than you think it does, and if this is going to be a race where track position becomes key, then those battles, I think, will be a lot more aggressive around the pit stop window times because everybody wants to be first onto the lane.
Yeah, and if you're the driver of Edwin Valerino, well, you've now got to really make sure at the start of this race you don't put a foot wrong. So there's a lot of pressure now on the shoulders of this number 118 car.
Yes, and I think that Positive Sim Racing have a lot of hopes for Edwin Valerino, and he's shown that he can improve more and more. And I think that from where he started, Will, as, well, I would say the perennial, oh, he's not done very well, has he, in qualifying? Oh, this has not been an Edwin Valerino's day, has it? It's now suddenly turning in his fortune. I think that Edwin Valerino really can go out there and showcase why Positive Sim Racing has faith and why Javier Alvarez has a lot of faith in him. And I hope to see a very good showing for him in the second race.
Right, here's the question. Lockwood versus Barber, who wins the battle in this second race?
Lockwood wins the battle, but Barber wins the war.
Okay. Okay, that's an interesting argument there. I'm going to get your grid up, of course, in just 20 seconds' time. Once we roll over to our race session, you can just see that we tick down to just 10 seconds left to go. 10-minute warm-up then for the guys to adjust to the different track temperatures. There's not much you can change on a skip, Barber, so there's not much you can really do in terms of setup. But, of course, you need to adjust to the fact the track has warmed up. It's got a bit more humid as well. That will have an effect on some things here today. Let's have a look then at your starting grid for race number 2 here in the 2K World Cup here this afternoon. And it will be Edwin Valerino who will actually get himself pole position then for this second event by virtue of finishing inside the top 10 last time by. And let's just cycle through very, very quickly. Of course, no times have been set by anyone because of the fact that it was based upon where they finished in race number 1 here this afternoon, this evening. Or it could be this morning in some parts of the world. Good morning, Australia. Welcome to Monday. We cycle on back through your grid then. Still a nice big field for your second event. And 39 drivers. So we have lost 2 along the way. But we are now getting ready, as we say, for that second of our 2 races here this evening in the 2K World Cup. And, of course, you can check out 2kworldcup.com for all the information about the series, and if you want to join, of course, you can find more information on there as well. The drivers are lining up now on the starting grid. Those lights have gone red on top of the iRacing gantry. Those lights are ready to go green. They are now green, and we are away then. Once again, Edwin Valerino is going to drive those drivers in towards turn number 1. Who is going to make it work as they cycle it all through? Clean for your first 8, 9, 10 positions. They work themselves then through turn number 2 on this first lap. And it's now a case, we've got freeride racing going on. The track's going to tighten itself up as we head ourselves now down to the first of the chicanes here. And it is still currently the driver of Valerino who is leading the way. Tyler Herviers currently running in P number 2 right now as he's putting the pressure on Tran in third. Barber is ahead of Lockwood, of course, because of the fact that Barber finished 1 position behind Lockwood in race number 1. But Lockwood putting the pressure on Barber early in this second event.
Antoine Tran in colours akin to TT Racing, so I wonder whether he'll let through Philippe Labert early here on the brakes into the right-left, the third chicane. Out on circuit and side by side holding each other up. Lockwood dives one down to the inside. There's the battle I was talking about. He gets himself through and shuts the door, which now allows Jordi Lopez Jr. to go on the offensive, and suddenly Lockwood goes on the offensive on Antoine Tran. They've left the door getaway for the leading 2, Viorino and Tyler Herviers, and that is Lockwood up into third, and it's 2 wide, many, many deep as they go back. Gindy side by side with Tipton. Oh, hello, race 1. I didn't know you turned up again.
Yep, it's all packed then, and they're going to have to get it sorted out as quickly as they can before they get down to that final chicane, because we know it tightens itself up quite a bit then. Having a look, 3 wide, 1 driver on the grass there as they head themselves down towards that final chicane. Well, all of a sudden, actually, they burst back past, and they try and just gets himself a little bit of that curb on the run through that final chicane, but it's Tyler Herviers who's taken that race lead away from Edwin Valerino as they come down towards turn number 1 again. I just want to show you this, by the way, down in your pack. Look at that, 3 wide, 4 wide actually somewhere down in your pack as well. This is Lorette, Singh, Defoe, Gritchie and Costello. We've got a car off as well.
Do we?
We did. Someone went straight on down at turn number 1.
I have not seen that one at all, so I believe... Well, sorry, yeah, that will do just for now. But I tell you what has been interesting. A good start from Alfredo Mallow, who's gone +3 so far. He's now on the Tipton train. And look at how quickly Labert now is looking to work here. Using Tran as the pick to make sure Lockwood's got a lot of work to do. And Lockwood will go to the inside. Now Labert is putting phasers to lit because he's got Viorino he needs to get past. Herviers he needs to get past. And how quickly does he need to get past, Will? The answer is very.
Yeah, he needs to do it as quickly as he can because Lockwood is now past Tran. Gap between Philippe Leber and your race leader, well, that is currently scored at 1.1 second. The gap to Edwin, well, that is currently scored as 2/3 of a second. Although he has got a 1 second advantage, does Leber over Lockwood, as Rob Adams is going to be classified as out of the event. Greg Seats all got a car going slowly as well there, down on the inside of the hairpin.
Yeah, that's Justin Tipton. He got a little bit of a tag, I believe, by Francois Boulian. Or was that Alfredo Mallow? I would have thought it was Mallow because he's the one going slow. So he gets caught up in things. So Lucas Loyart then will look to try and make the move. In front of that, though, Diogo Francisco trying to go at it with Johnny Guindy. Guindy to the inside of Greg Seitz. 3 wide they'll go into the wall of champion chicane. And Guindy's going to go, nope, all mine, sir.
Yeah, and that is a good move right there by Guindy behind. More Francois Boulian action. He's been on top form today in terms of being involved in some big races. And Turan, well, that's a shame for Turan. He's had incidents like that before when he just made small mistakes, and he was really aggressive on previous laps down at the wall of the champion chicane. This time, it just looks like he bit off more than he could chew.
Yeah, it certainly does. He's now behind Lucas Loyart, so Devon Sting, Alfredo Mallow, Anthony Katz having a very nice run actually in the pack as well. And I think he's someone who's really improved over the last year or so, Anthony Katz. He was always a top 30 driver. Now he's looking more like a top 15 driver. I love seeing Anthony Katz race, but that's going to be crucial because Turan, he is the nearly man in the sense that he always seems to make that one mistake, Will, that just keeps him out of contention for victories.
Yeah, and Jordi Lopez Jr. right now looking very strong, trying to hunt down Brian Lockwood. Lopez Jr., this could be very interesting. ERT could be coming to the aid, maybe, of TT Racing and having another driver put distance between the driver Lockwood and Philippe Leber in this battle here today. Diego Francisco as well, putting pressure on Greg Seitz in battle for position. Battle's going on up and down your field here today, but we want to turn our attention back to Mallow because he had himself a bit of a tough start to both races here today. Of course, started moving up positions, then involved in contact, but Mallow currently in P number 12, but he is stuck in one of these famous draft trains.
Oh, it's so famous that Matt Defoe's on the back of it in position number 16, and he goes all the way to Johnny Guindy in position number 6. So it's an 11-car train that's going on as they all cycle their way through. Leber, though, he's got Edwin Villarino in the sights. He thinks about the inside. Nope, I'm not going to get a chance, so he has to sit and wait through the final chicane. This is only going to allow Brian Lockwood a chance to go through, and Lockwood goes super aggressive over that anti-cut curb. He's trying everything to get back within a second, and for the moment, I think he may just about have done it. In fact, he's got it at just under 1 second. Absolutely perfect for Brian Lockwood, but now the battle going on is P5, P6 now, because that's Diogo Francisco and Greg Seitz, the two teammates, with Boulian making moves.
Yeah, Boulian, as he said a moment ago, he looks as though he is here to fight today in the Orion race team car, the number 131, one of the more historic liveries in all of sim racing. Boulian does take a lot of curb though down at that first chicane. Live timing and scoring, by the way, is available, and the issue is Leber couldn't make the move early on this lap, and as a consequence of that, it's allowed Brian Lockwood to come into play. The gap now back down to 4/10 of a second. Leber needs to make this pass by the time they get to the hairpin, in my opinion, and he's just looking to the high side, looking to the low side. Not happening as they come down into the second of these chicanes, and it looks as though now that Edwin Villarino, after having an interesting start to this event, now takes the role of Jarno Trulli as they come down into the hairpin. It's going to have to be a lunge, I say here, for Philippe Leber. Is he going to try it? He's going to try it, but he's not going to be able to make it work, and this has allowed Lockwood right back into play as a big poor run on the exit of that corner there by Villarino. Technical gremlins a little bit for him there as well. So it's all changing on track right now as we've got a lot of things we want to pay attention to. Out front though, Tyler Herviers is pulling away. 1.5 seconds is the gap as it stands, as well, lots to still talk about here. Lockwood, side by side, with Leber, final chicane. And Edwin decided to come on towards pit road right at the last moment.
No, he didn't.
He's gone off.
No, he outbroke himself. Villarino really struggled there getting down. He's so lucky he's not taken out Tyler Herviers. He could have dived for the lane, but he would have had to do a two-stop. He takes the slowdown, he drops behind Alfredo Mallow, and the baptism by fire now suddenly ends. Now it's a train of 4 at the front. Leber has got himself still ahead of Brian Lockwood, but Tyler Herviers, don't take any credit away from him. He is doing a fantastic job of leading this event and keeping himself pretty much out of trouble. And that's all you need to do here in this race. Keep yourself out of trouble. Make sure everyone else fights amongst themselves.
Yeah, I agree. And I'll tell you one thing. Edwin looks as though he's been drinking a little bit too much Red Bull here today, maybe, shall we say. As Greg Seats were on board with him in the 7th position right now. Retirees from this event so far today, well, we have ourselves 2 of them. Simon Edwards and Rob Adams. 37 drivers still on track. We have El Leroy Coppage, Don Parks and James McCrithry, who have all done pit stops early on in this event today. We've got ourselves Brian Lockwood. He's looking very strong. And the reason why we're focusing too much on this is because this is a battle going on for the championship. Barber is ahead in the championship. Lockwood took 7 points off in that last race. If he can get the victory and maybe put some cars between himself and Barber, this could really open up the championship for the last 2 rounds of this season, Jake. So there's a lot riding right now over the next 16 laps of this event.
It's not just the victory he wants the race lead. Both of them want the race lead, because for every 3 laps you lead here, you get yourself bonus points, and you get a bonus point for leading a lap. So Barber gets the run. Now Lockwood will try and steal that away from him, but he runs out of road to try and make something happen. Hervius on the inside as well. Now means there's a vehicle in between. So Barber's going to get the lead. Big slide, Tyler Hervius. And that's going to mean that Lockwood's got to attack now. Got to go to the inside. Jordi Lopez Jr. is going to try and hack in this, with Schumacher played the role by the driver of what was Brian Lockwood, but he ran out of road to make that happen. Barber leads a lap. He'll get a bonus point for it. And now, on the outside, Lockwood desperately needs second.
Yeah, and this is the thing, though, but they stay side by side. If they stay side by side for more than this one corner, then this will really open the lead up for Barber. On board the Lockwood. Lockwood concedes defeat there for a reason, Jake. He knows that if you go too wide through that first chicane, you lose half a second immediately.
You certainly do, and that is so easy to do, losing time again and again and again. You have to keep on charging. You have to keep on finding ways to keep the time up, so you keep on pushing to make sure that happens. Now all of a sudden, Johnny Gindy's on the back of the train, and Gindy's the last driver you ever want to see on a train, because Gindy, Mr. Two Shoes himself, likes dancing through the field.
Yeah, having a look through the replay there, Tyler Hervius knows that he's not quite a champion yet, because he got close to that wall but didn't slam into it. Lockwood still 3rd place, Lopez Jr. still 4th, Gindy in 5th, Francisco in 6th. Let's have a look at the people who's moved up and made some time in this event so far today. And of course, it's worth noting, 3 places for Philippe Barber, 4 places for Gindy, 5 places for Francois Boulien. Edwin Valerino, of course, because of the fact he went off down at that final chicane, he's down 11 and trying to run through a slowdown penalty at the final chicane. He's down 12 here today.
Yep, he certainly is, as we're almost going to go 3 wide. There's a bit of a box in for the driver of what was going to be Brian Lockwood, and it's a hold up there for Hervius. And look at Jordi Lopez Jr. go for it. Now Gindy goes hard to the left-hand side to make it 3 wide, and suddenly, from battling for the race lead, it's now Brian Lockwood looking at P5 in the face. They're almost 4 wide as they make the run to turn 1. Now they're 3 wide into turn 1. Get some communication, ERT boys, and there's contact between the ERT boys.
Uh-oh, and Lopez Jr., that's he's off, and he's trying to keep it going. No, the suspension's broken there by the looks of it, maybe. He's down into P number 8. We'll know if that suspension's broken when he comes into this corner. Yeah, it's gone. Lopez Jr. going to spin it around. Careful, boy, careful. And he just somehow manages not to hit anyone. But Lopez Jr. then is out of this event, and ERT coming together.
I don't want to say this is the mock-up of something else, Will, but I think this is the mock-up of something else.
Yeah, I think so. If you haven't watched the F1 race, spoiler alert, maybe. But here we are then, a look in towards turn number 1. As they come into the corner 3 wide. And you just see that in the slide job between the 2 ERT drivers involved in that one. And Lockwood was just thinking, wait a minute, please don't be deja vu to the previous race.
Yeah, I think he wanted to know that he was going to be safe, and eventually he was, but this has all just opened the door up for Barber just a little bit more. Look who now joins the train after all that battling. Francisco, Seitz, Tipton. Oh, hello. It's the Philippe Barber Brigade with their badges and their trousers up towards their ankles and whatever it is. No, sorry, trousers up towards their shoulders, sorry, I should say. And they're all going to be there to help one man only, and that's Philippe Barber.
Yeah, it's Francois Boulien, by the way, after talking so highly about him earlier. He is just retired from this event. So a big issue then for Francois Boullier. Let's get ourselves a quick look at that one. Oh, that's a big off. Let's see if we can get a better look on board with him, if possible. Oh, he just lost that in a very weird place there, did Francois Boullier. Trying to get ourselves another look, but he just completely lost it. That's down in turn 5 and 6. I'm not sure if he got hit tonight. The answer...
I think it was Viorino.
Yeah.
He had damage on the machine already, and Viorino's trying to get past. There's so much of a differentiation in speed because of the rear wing damage, and Boullier just gets turned.
Yeah, I agree. As here we are back on board then with Brian Lockwood. Now, it's worth noting that Hervius has got that gap back down below his second to Philippe Labeur, but Brian Lockwood doesn't want to take any chances here because he's still going to have to find a way past. The best opportunity, of course, is down into the hairpin or out the wall of champion chicane. But there's going to be a lot of work to do, and it's going to be very difficult for it to go on. Worth noting, by the way, that your mid-pack, yeah, there is a train going on, but your mid-pack's on the most boring I think I've seen in about 10 races, Jake.
Well, it certainly has been, but the big factor is they've just hit the pit stop cycle at the end of lap 7, start of lap 8, so drivers are pitting already, and I'm not surprised to see that, so drivers could come in. Now, this is the big worry right now for Brian Lockwood, because whoever pits in front of him, he's got to go pit with them, because we've seen traditionally in the Skip Barber 2K World Cup that the gaps like to open up when the stops come in, and it just completely disintegrates the field. If someone pits, you've got to follow them in this series. No ifs, no buts, and there's certainly no ands to go with it, as Lockwood looks for second. Yeah,
and here comes Brian Lockwood then. We're on board with him as he comes past 1. Is he going to try and go past 2? He thinks about it. Not just yet. Be careful over the curves, but he does get a much better run, actually. Out the final chicane. Battle for the race lead then. In towards turn number 1. Brian Lockwood versus Philippe Labeur. Just dancing off the throttle for a second as Lockwood to make sure he can get the inside line into turn number 1. It does give him the outside line into turn number 2. And we have seen how dangerous it's been. These two championship leaders running it very, very close then as they work themselves now on the exit of turn number 2. And, well, two ART boys side by side again. And I'm sure Brenton O'Brien will be saying don't hit each other again. Although they almost hit each other again. It's not ERT, no.
It's just that different livery and not close enough for the moment there. Hervius holds on, but now Gilles turns to defense because Diogo Francisco wants to get further forward because they got to help. ERT are a little bit of a blockade right now for the brigade, shall we say, of TT Racing boys who seem to be swarming. It's like having the Harlem Globetrotters or whatever team. It's like the Golden State Warriors, Will. The fact that they just continuously buy all the top players.
Yeah, and I tell you what, TT Racing, they are really growing into a big force in Skip Barber Racing. ERT, of course, one of the most diverse teams. Let's give them credit as well in all the sim racing at the moment. On board of Anti-Cat, by the way, versus Edwin Valerino. Cat in P number 10 right now. We haven't had too many scheduled pit stops as of yet. I believe Devon Singh is the only one who's actually made a scheduled pit stop. So Cat is battling now inside the top 10, legitimately inside the top 10. It's good to see Cat actually run so high.
It is. Anthony Cat, I think, has improved a lot. He's used Club UK and Ireland to really bolster his skills, but battle for the lead to the outside. Brian Lockwood going for it, wants Hervius to come along with him. Hervius is not close enough to come along with him as through the final chicane. No takers so far as they all jump over the chicane. There's a little mini pack behind as well. The dream for Him Antonides is a lap down, and he is with Alfredo Malo as well. So Malo and Antonides could work together as Labeur slightly defensive into turn number 1, allowing the driver Tyler Hervius no opportunities to make a way through. Status quo resumes as Viorino loses the position to Matt Defoe.
Yeah, and Diego Francisco right now on Johnny Gindi. That's a battle going on for P4 on track. That pit window is now officially open for the drivers that want to dare to come in early. I wonder, actually, with all these TT racing cars inside the top 10, Jake, whether or not you just pit 1 or 2 of them at the rear of the train early and see whether they can do the undercut.
Well, I definitely picked Justin Tipton. We know he won the opening race. We know he's got the pace. I'd give him some fresh air. I'd give him a chance to attack, but it depends on the gap And I think they'll be looking to try and get themselves into a gap around about John Sully and Chris Malcolm, that sort of area, as Anthony Cat, actually, speak of the devil, I believe has come in and made a scheduled stop, Will. So he's gone in and made the early call. That's going to be brave from a driver who was in 10th position before coming in and making the stop. But now, I think you've got to be so careful about what you do. Leiber's got to cover off the move that Brian Lockwood decides to do. Lockwood is the big puzzle piece that needs to be solved.
Yeah, as we're on board right now with Philippe Leiber. And the issue is as well, if you're Lockwood, now you're in clean air, you just go flat out if you want to on towards pit road. Although I say that, here comes Leiber once again looking down to the inside as Leiber is going to get that race lead back for the time being at least, as they all go through once again. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 drivers will stay out for another lap. So no team helping team that much yet, although we have got 2 wide. Oh my word, a crash from towards pit road.
And it's both teammates as well. Viorino and Matt Defoe come together on the lane. And that was Viorino just getting all shades of turning in. And it almost seemed like the wheel locked up on him there, Will. It's a very bizarre incident, but Viorino turned around, major damage. His day goes from bad to absolutely ghastly.
That was not positive for Positive Sim Racing, to excuse the pun, please. Justin Tipton, Greg Zeek, still P7, P8 on track. Edwin is on pit road. Miguel Garcia Sanchez is on pit road.
That's contact. That's Gindi. Oh, how has he held that together? Gindi and Francisco come together, Will, and now the TT Brigade is all over each other.
Yep, here then is Johnny Gindi. Replay on board of him. Oh, you're right. He did manage to somehow make that work. But what it's also done is it's basically split this pack up into 2 for the time being. You've got your top 3 drivers. You've got slightly wounded, as here comes Lockwood again over Philippe Leiber as they try then into the hairpin. Lockwood tried to get past. He almost became a little bit vulnerable to Herviers then. I think he was aware about that, as we are at halfway distance now in this motor race. And I think that Lockwood now is going to have to work out. He's also got people behind him, although he does exactly the same as what Philippe Leiber did like last time by. Darns it down to the inside line and comes straight down and onto pit road. And look at that double dummy there.
Oh, and there was almost contact between them as well. They're all diving at lap 11. They all decide they want to come in, except one. Except one, Will. That one is Justin Tipton. So we thought Tipton would do something different, and that different is staying out longer. And that might be the best decision that Justin Tipton has ever made.
Yep, so they all come on towards pit road. Lockwood, Leiber. Into the stalls they come. Who is going to get out first? Of course, you don't want to make a mistake on pit road this time around, because with all these guys coming in, it'll make it horrible to catch up time later. It looks as though like Lockwood is going to come out first. A 13.3 second pit stop by him. He's tried the undercut, the short fill there. Herviers comes out ahead of Leiber as well. A short fill for Herviers. So playing it safe then are Leiber, Gindi, Francisco, etc. But Lockwood then really rolling the dice, and I think he's realised that he needs to do so if he wants a chance at being in this championship. Only 2 drivers haven't pitted right now. One of them is this one. Get some TV time, Lucas Royart. Started in P number 11, of course. Unlucky not to be a part of the inverted field on that crazy final lap of race number 1. And then also Justin Tipton, who we do expect to maybe come on towards pit road this time by. If not, things can potentially get a bit uglier for Tipton, as he completely made a mess of that hairpin.
Well, he's got the pressure on him because he knows he needs to start making positions, but when you're trying to hot lap and the lap doesn't come together, Will, sometimes for Justin Tipton, it's just best to stop trying, and maybe the lap and the flow and the rhythm will start coming back to you. It's almost like trying to be an artist, Will. You just need to feel exactly what the vehicle's doing, and straight onto the lane, he will dive unopposed, unchallenged, but far too early when it came to the line there. He was so tentative. He did not want to speed.
Yeah, and here is Tyler Herviers. Now, Herviers is win within even half a second of Brian Lockwood. And Philippe Leiber is just over half a second behind Hervius. Hervius has basically saved Philippe Leber's race here. As they come down into that final chicane once again, Hervius gets close to the rear of Lockwood, but doesn't actually do anything about it. A lot of curb hopping there by both P1 and P2, and that has actually allowed Philippe Leber to close up a little bit. Tipton is on pit road. He is right there coming out, but he's losing positions, of course, as everyone else has made their pit stop now, and Tipton is going to come out in pretty much no man's land, all the way down in P number... Actually, no, he's got friends after all. He's got himself the driver of Francisco 4 tenths per second ahead. And you always forget then at this track that the pit exit basically feeds you into turn number 2 and you come in with a huge barrel of steam.
Yeah, and that's going to be so crucial. So you look at what is going on for Diogo Francisco, Justin Tipton. Tipton, I feel, can be upset actually with what he's done, because if he got that lap proper, he'd be right up there fighting with Johnny Guindy, trying to get that position through. Instead, he's still part of the TT brigade that is trying its so desperately best to try and push forward and help Philippe Leber, but ultimately not doing anything at all. And that's a shame, because they're legitimately pawns in a chess game where basically all the checking's happening on the other side of the board.
Let's say hello to Matt Defoe, shall we then? Of course, he's had his issues, but he's in P number 11 right now. Positive Sim Racing trying to make something of this event, but he does brush a little bit wide there in a second chicane. Well, like Brian Dewell, we haven't talked about Brian Dewell at all, really, today, Jake. And, well, it's not very often we say that these days.
Who? That's exactly the point. Brian Dewell has been so quiet. He started 24th. But he's not done anything really this race. Same can be said for Enzo Cantor in the 924. Both of them have made major positions in this race, but they just haven't had anything to show of it today. And that much is very, very telling, as Tyler Hervius now holds the race lead.
Yes, he does. So he's got himself past Brian Lockwood. Lockwood looking to come back then on the run down in towards turn number 1. It was Lockwood who led at the line by the looks of it, although he does do a bit of a slide job through turn number 1. Behind, you've got yourself Francisco then in a battle with Johnny Guindy. Francisco wins that battle. Now we've got pit stops all settled down. There's your movers and shakers in this event today. Brian Dewell up 13 places. And let's talk about another driver, Enzo Cantor. He's up 21 spots today.
That's the Enzo Cantor that we all know and love. He's got the best beard in sim racing. Not only that, he's got the lion's mane to match it as well, as he looks to battle with Lucas Loyart for position number 12. And this is the Enzo Cantor we want to see, making positions, driving well. And honestly, Enzo Cantor has that ability to go out there and win races. He knows he's got that ability to go out there and win races. He just needs to go and unlock that final bit of potential that we all know and that we all love about him.
Yeah, we've also got Miguel Garcia and Sanchez involved in a battle with Frank Costello. This is for P number 14 on track, as Costello there just had a huge slide through 5 and 6. And this almost allowed Sanchez to get a look past, but not able to do so, as JB Mercedes lost the place there to Borja Zazo as well.
Yep, Borja Zazo, and his championship is falling apart right before him because he never seems to have a result. It's always a top 15, somewhere like 11th or 12th that he manages to finish, and somehow he keeps himself in play. Side by side for the lead once again, as Hervius once more makes the move into the wall of champion chicane. But once more, you will see Brian Lockwood trying to pick the run up off the exit and gets the opportunity to. Now, if this happens, side by side to the line on the final lap, this time, like last time, it's not going to be the same, because Lockwood this time has snuck that one by 300ths of a second. So Lockwood knows he's playing that game. More crucially, they're both dropping 0.2 of a second on that last lap, and it's side by side Francisco and Guindy behind.
Yeah, and also, let's not forget that these are the two drivers that short field. They did 13.3 and 13.1 second pit stops, respectively, compared to the 14.3 for Philippe Leber. Now, you could argue that these two working with each other and drafting with each other might help them a tiny bit in terms of the fuel, but I think they're pushing too hard right now. And Hervius has still got a huge role to play in this murder race. Let's give him credit. He's really been battling with two of the biggest names in the 2K World Cup today and holding his own, but also he's not afraid about these two championship contenders.
No, remember, Tyler Hervius is going for his first ever win in the Skip Barber 2K World Cup, a maiden victory. And when you've got that going for you, it doesn't matter who you are. You could be racing against Brian Lockwood, you could be racing against George Lee Wright, you could be racing against Martin Kroenke for all you care. It could be anybody you're racing against. If you want to go for a maiden win, you go for a maiden win, Will.
Yeah, Lockwood got a sideways moment again on the run through the hairpin. This will allow Hervius the opportunity to close, but more importantly, it has allowed Barber to definitely close back into play now. Hervius going to go to the outside as they work themselves towards that final chicane once again. He's got the outside line. He's clear. There's also a little bit of damage to the front wing, by the way, of Brian Lockwood. I only just noticed it for the first time. It's not going to hurt him too much, but he's just been taking a bit too much out of that final curb, I think.
Yeah, I think he certainly has done, and that's only going to be affecting him a little bit further on. So if that damage is there, that's affecting a few numbers, Will. And the most important one is the fuel number, because that's only going to compromise. And, well, the third word is compromise.
Yep, Borgesazzo is going to lose a place then to Frank Costello. He's back down into the 15th position. That move being made down at the final chicane again. And just have a look down through the field. You've got JB Maceda, by the way, as well, who's just had a battle with Miguel Garcia Sanchez. That's been going on track. Get social /RaceBot TV on Facebook, at RaceBot TV on Twitter. Retirees from this event: Devin Singh, Nathan Clark, Michael Halfenden, Jordi Lopez Jr. and Simon Edwards. Fahim Atanides has had a crash. And another race over for Fahim Atanides. And let's have a look. Second chicane. Back end steps out, tries to control it, tries to get the power down too early, hits the wall, game over. Thank you for coming.
Oh, it's so brash from Fahim Antonides, and, you know, it's things like that with a certain team that makes you shout, insert different simulator here, Movano.
Yes. As here we are, Johnny Guindy. Putting the pressure back on Diego Francisco. Nice little battle going on between TT Racing and ERT as it stands right now. We are down to the last few laps of this event, by the way. It's been a great evening's worth of racing. Both of the Classic IndyCar series, which you can check out on the RaceBot TV Facebook page, and also this one. And hi, Lockwood, back down to the inside. Battle for the race lead as I'll come in towards that final chicane. You're going to see a lot of that over the final couple of laps. One thing I noticed is that Lockwood, when he tries to do that, he tries to slide too much. He's got to be so careful, because the last thing he needs right now is to get himself a slowdown penalty, because it will drop him back down to about 6th place.
I think Lockwood likes the fact that his setup is loose and he's able to be malleable with the way that he can push himself through the corner, Will. But the issue he does have, yes, you're absolutely right, he's trying to push the boundaries almost a little bit too much. Now, if your name's Jonathan Simone, you're only ever going to get that corner right once in 10 years. But, you know, that's why he's in the commentary booth. But right now, you find that, like, someone like Brian Lockwood, yeah, he's sliding into that corner, but the more he's sliding into that corner, the more he's actually taking it out of the Oreo tyres, and that's going to mean that he's going to be in a lot of trouble come the end of this event.
Mallow up into P number 7. Fantastic piece of side-by-side racing, 204 machine. And they always do say those that can't do teach, those that can't race commentate. Well, I teach and I commentate, so it must show you how useless I am at anything. Borgesazzo, again, back on the rear of Frank Costello. This is the battle going on for 14th place on track. Of course, keeping an eye out on all the battles that are going on. It really has opened up towards the rear end of your field. One of the big battles going on, I say big battles going on outside your top 25. Don Parks versus L. Leroy Coppage, but Coppage then deciding that he wanted to do a little bit of slidey through that final chicane, so that one's calmed down for the moment. Hervius back to the same situation once again, and the question I think is going to be, when does Philippe Labeur decide to pick at least one of these drivers off, as Hervius looks to the high side once again on the run down to that final chicane?
Well, he's looking, is Labeur behind in third, but he's never been quite close enough to make a move, as Lockwood has to sit in the toe and wait. And again, looking to pick the run up off the exit. Not quite happening for him at the moment. And yes, that's Justin Tipton. Turn around, Wall of Champions. Well, that's something that we're going to say. Let's see that. Turn around, nowhere to go. Bit of help from Guindy and hard into the wall. That's his day. Oh, it's very much done.
Yep, here's Justin Tipton then on board. Thank you very much. I mean, technically, that's not the Wall of Champions. It's just before the Wall of Champions, but we're just going to be a little bit pedantic of that one then, just to save Justin Tipton's heart just a little bit. Coming down into that final chicane now. Here's one more look. Down to the inside. He loses it by himself first, and then Gilles just basically helps him finish the story.
Can I just say, Will, that losing it at the wall before the Wall of Champions is like marrying my auntie or something.
I'm not even going to comment on that one, because otherwise I'm going to get into so much trouble. And I'm behaving myself at the moment. Tyler Herviers, Brian Lockwood, 4/10 to a second. Now, Barber is actually closer now to Lockwood, and Lockwood is to Herviers. So that's the battle going on for P2, P number 3 on track. Lucas Loyart, we talked about him having an interesting race. He's currently in 13th place. Enzo Cantor just ahead, although Cantor... Oh, sorry, that's Justin Tipton trying to recover back down towards pit road as we speak. So that's the reason why that one flashed by really, really quickly. Here's the interesting one. Lockwood, I think, has realised that he might need to save a little bit of fuel.
I think he knows that as well, as much as anybody else does, Will. And I think that saving that bit of fuel, sitting and waiting, it can't harm too much as he sits and waits behind Tyler Herviers. He'll try and run Herviers out of fuel, make his life as easy as possible. So now for Brian Lockwood, how much more do I have to push? How much more do I have to keep on trekking? And you can see he had the opportunity to make the move into 1 with 3 laps to go, but no, now I've got to save the fuel. Now I've got to start thinking, well, Laber's sitting and waiting. He's fine on the fuel. He could breeze past us at any given point in time. Lockwood is in the Schrodinger's overtake.
Yeah, I completely agree. 1 second, as we're having a look then on board with Coppage once again. Still involved in that battle with Don Parks going on P27, P28 on track. And just to let you know, Justin Tipton has brought that car on towards pit road as we speak. Greg Zeet still involved in the battle with Alfredo Malo R. And it looks like Alfredo's actually now being able to pull away a little bit in that battle for P number 6.
Yes, he has, and I think that he's been able to just work his pace a little bit more. He's done so well to get back up to position number 6, and actually behind that, I think Anthony Catt and the likes of Brian Dewell has done so well. Brian Dewell, get this here, Will, plus 16.
Yeah, that's insane. Absolutely insane by him today. And there has been some big movers in this event, even though there's not been a lot in terms of, natural attrition in this event. Loyart, by the way, now putting pressure on Enzo Cantor. That one's a P number 11 on track. I think Cantor is just fading away at the last page of this race. Or has he
fading away? I think he's already made the move,
yeah,
actually,
that's
Lucas Loyart.
That's one, yes.
So I think it's the other way. I think he's fading upwards through the field. I'm not sure he's going to get to Matt Defoe for the top 10, but 11th would be absolutely mighty at this stage. Popsicle sticks will go in the air, Will, at the end of this lap because there's 2 to go, and still Laber can't make the move, can't do anything, but I feel like third's enough to just stave the gap at the moment for the championship.
Yeah, of course, we've had a couple of crazy finishes over the last weekend here on RaceSpot TV. A couple of crazy races, of course, on RaceSpot TV and on iRacing Live. Catch all the latest sim racing action on iRacing.com/live. Let's go on board then with Laber. And really, he's going to have to do one of them this lap and one of them next lap, I think, Jake.
Either that, or he's got to go for the crazy 3-wide play and otherwise take a leaf out of the Gilles playbook. But I don't see him taking a leaf out of the Gilles playbook anytime soon, knowing how the last 2 times the Gilles playbook went down, and trusting the process really did not become a good idea. Through the right-hander, they come along of 7, looking to make the run now to 8 and 9, and once more, Brian Lockwood sits and waits. There was a driver once upon a time, Will, who would always go for the short fill strategy and would always run out of fuel, and it is Philippe Laber's teammate. His name was Vinicius Rocha, and I don't think anybody here from the top 2 wants to do a Rocha.
No, and that's the thing. I think actually Laber did have a really horrible run through that second chicane. We're looking at yourself another replay of that, because that will be pivotal in terms of this event. Look, he was only about 2.5 car lengths back from Lockwood coming in. Touches the curb. And I just think that back end just came out a tiny bit on him, or he's just a little bit tentative getting on the power. But now, this is Lockwood versus Hervius. We're going to come to the white flag lap, this time by, and let's go on board with Lockwood. Lockwood is staying behind. He is waiting. He knows that he can't yet go for it. He's going to have to wait until the final lap. But he was really, both of these drivers were really off throttle, and this is really now going to allow the driver of Barber to come back into it on the final lap, because here we go. One more lap to go here in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. In fact, you know what? Francisco's dealing with the hunt on this one a bit as well, if it all goes wrong.
Oh, he certainly is, and well, Diogo Francisco, he's just been tirelessly working to get back to Barber, and he's got to that front stretch, and it's not much more that he can do to help. He'll capitalise if anything happens as they head through the S's section, turn 3, turn 4. Now you got the long run of turn number 5, this beautiful sweeping right-hander before you head the brakes at turn number 6. An overtaking area in some series, not this one though, as they head themselves through the sweeping lefts and rights, looking to get the power back down. And will you feel now, Tyler Hervius, it's been waiting, but now Brian Lockwood needs a perfect 3 or 4 corners to set up the run for the final chicane.
And I think the thing is as well that Hervius knows that this is an opportunity you're not going to get too often as we come then down. Just a couple of corners to go now in what has been a fantastic doubleheader here in the 2K World Cup presented by DES Simulation. We go on board with Lockwood. Is he going to dive now? No, he's going to wait as they work themselves out the hairpin. Now it's a case of who's going to be the boldest as they work themselves down this ultra long straightaway. And it's 1, 2, 3, 4 in shot. Hervius, Lockwood. Hervius most likely going to go defensive here. He wants a victory. Lockwood going to have to go to the high side. Lockwood, though, needs to think about the championship as they come down towards that final chicane for the final time. Barber thinking about sliding it in. Barber almost getting tagged there. Barber is going to get tagged. Barber goes into the wall. It's going to be a clear win for Brian Lockwood. But can Barber hold it to the line? Oh, shades of Indy 2011, almost there. And wow, Lockwood claims victory. Barber second place. Heartbreak for Hervius. As let's get ourselves another look at that one. On board with the number 121 machine. And I told you that Hervius was going to want to go for the victory. I told you that Lockwood had to think a little bit about the championship. We're on board with Tyler Hervius. And it's not often I say this. I think Hervius just take the curb a little bit hard there. I want to have another look on board of Barber if possible, because I think that actually for the first time in a while, I feel like saying, Jake, that maybe Barber took too much of a risk and he got very lucky that he didn't end up paying big time for it.
I think he did. Yes, Hervius was heavy over the curb, but you have to remember here, Philippe Barber is pushing incredibly hard to try and find a way past, and if he's just a bit patient, maybe Hervius runs out of road, runs out of talent, and maybe spins it around on his own accord. I think Philippe Barber did not think enough about that situation. He went for the corner, he couldn't back out of it, he made contact, he hit the wall, he hit his teammate as well in Francisco, and all that means is that now the stewards have to have a very big look at Philippe Barber for this one, because if Barber picks up a penalty, has to start from the back of the grid or something like that, or to start from pit road, then Barber has got his work cut out for this championship. That could have just been the initiative and the momentum thrown into Brian Lockwood's hands.
Now, we've got to say that Hervius did start losing that car by himself, but at the same time, I just think that you're right, Barber could have just got off the noisy pedal. He had 3 car lengths back behind him. There's no way he's going to catch Lockwood. And also, just imagine, if Barber was to have had more incident points, he could have been disqualified then on that final corner. Let's put all that to one side, though. Let's give you your final race results here from Sunday Night Skippies, race number 2. Two races, 2 crazy finishes. Last time out in the first of our doubleheader, Lockwood came out on the losing end. This time around, he comes out on the winning end, 2.4 seconds ahead of Philippe Barber, who got involved in an incident with Tyler Hervius' final corner, final lap of the race. Diego Francisco was also able to hold on to third place, as they were able to actually pull out a gap over Johnny Gindi earlier on. Gindi faded away a little bit in the end, but he still claims to be number 4. Hervius has to settle for 5th. Greg Zeitz in 6th, and then Alfredo Mallow, Brian Duell, Matt Defoe, and Anthony Catt round out your top 10. Team number 11, Enzo Cantor, Lucas Bayar in 12. Borges Arzo, Fran Castillo, and David Maceda round out your top 15. As a remainder of the results, they're going to come up on your screen here right about now for you. And what we're going to do next, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take a quick break here on RaceSpot TV and on iRacing Live. We're back with post-race interviews after these messages. You're watching RaceSpot TV on iRacing Live, coverage presented by DES Simulation.
I want to leap over buildings, want to fly over the shores, faster than a lightning flash, rushing through the cool night air. Oh, oh, oh. So start ignition, count to 0. I just wanna be a superhero. With fearless thoughts, emotions swirl. I wanna be the man that saves the world. So start ignition. Wanna be a superhero.
Okay.
Welcome back. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to post-race coverage then of the doubleheader from Circuit Gilles Villeneuve. And we have our race winner here, Brian Lockwood from race number 2. Well, Brian, it almost went horribly wrong in race number 1. It was mighty close in race number 2. But somehow, you managed to come out today with a pretty good points haul.
Yeah, I mean, the first race, I made a silly mistake, and I just squeezed Johnny a little too hard. So I was disappointed with that because I felt like I could have fought for the win, but I managed to do it in the second race. Everything went right. Philippe got out in front at first, and I was actually a little worried that I was going to lose his draft, but that didn't happen. I nailed the pit stop. I actually almost ran out of fuel, started sputtering right after the line. But I made it happen.
Well,
I got the win.
You did get the win, and 2 races. Greg Zeitz, can you sort your microphone out, please? Thank you. You did get the win, and 2 races in a row we'll move him out. I'll ask you the question for the third time, shall I? 2 races in a row then today. You've been able to place yourself higher than Philippe Leber, closing the gap in the championship. 2 rounds to go. Can you do it?
Well, Philippe has a really big lead going into the last 2 races, so I need a lot of things to go right for me, but it's not over yet.
Well, before we let you go, Brian, who do you want to give a shout out to?
Shout out to my team, Racecraft Engineering, and you guys for the great broadcast all the time. I love watching these.
Thank you very much. Then Justin Tipton coming home with the race victory. 2nd place, Philippe Leber stood by with Jake Sperry.
Philippe, the one thing we do need to talk about is what's happened on that last final lap and the incident you had with Tyler Hervius.
Well, you saw it. It's pretty simple actually. Tyler lost the rear end in the chicane itself, and he lost a lot of momentum, and there was no way for me to avoid him. I was so close, and I hit him, and I hit the wall, and he got damaged, and yeah. Luckily, I was able to limp to the finish line in 2nd place, but I would have liked it to end in a different way, but. Yeah, I guess that's just the nature of the track and that last chicane. It always is something there, and this time it wasn't any different.
And then in terms of the first race, which seemed to be incredibly crazy, the incident that occurred with the driver of Jordi Lopez Jr.?
I have no idea what happened there. It's all a blur. All of a sudden, I found myself on the grass. And I tried to get back on track, which worked, and I was happy to finish in the top 10 because at that point I thought the race was over. But I'll have to take a look at the replay because I don't know what happened.
You feel that today was damage limitation?
Yeah, because I had no pace today. I suck at this track. This is really one of my worst tracks in competitiveness. So I'm happy with 2nd place in the 2nd race because that's more than I had hoped for. And luckily, Johnny couldn't catch up because my teammates were fighting him. I'm not going to deny it that that's what they were doing because I needed the points. So it was a good race in the end.
And in terms of Donington Park in 2 weeks, a track that suits you better?
Yes, much better. I really like Donington Park, and I'm usually competitive there. So hopefully I can beat Brian there and seal the championship.
Well, 25 points lead at the moment. Nothing is quite secure. Before we let you go, shout out to some sponsors.
First, I want to give a shout out to Brian for I think it's his first win in the 2K Cup, and it's well deserved because he had the pace, and he's just he was awesome today. And also thanks to our league sponsor DES Simulation for making everything that we do possible.
All right, it's Philippe Leber coming home in 2nd position, and Will, it is a stacked, and I mean stacked, interview room.
Yeah. We're going to get through Diego Francisco. We're going to go to rapid fire mode afterwards, because otherwise we're going to be on air until midnight UK time. Let's go first of all, though, to Diego Francisco, who came home in 3rd place today. Well, 48 machine, fantastic events for you today. It's been crazy racing, hard racing. Talk us through it.
Yeah, I had a lot of gaps to bridge today, but yeah, it went pretty well. Almost a podium in the first one and a podium in the second one, also because of that craziness happening in the last chicane. Yeah, it was a pretty good event for me and the team.
We've got 2 rounds to go in the championship, and it seems to be that you're coming into the final couple of rounds with quite a bit of momentum. Are you still thinking about how you could potentially get yourself decent championship finish here, or is this now building up for season 2?
Yeah, it's definitely building up for season 2 because I'm out of the race for the championship or even a good position completely. Yeah, all aboard for next season.
All aboard for next season. But I mean, the thing is as well, this TT Racing team, we were joking about it in the broadcast earlier on. It seems to be that you're becoming a swarm of fireflies, adding more and more drivers to that roster. Does that big team feel actually help in terms of you being able to prepare for these races?
Well, to prepare for sure. I mean, we practice a lot together and we exchange laps and tips, so it definitely helps. During the actual racing, well, today it helped for sure because we were able to fight it out with Johnny and try to avoid him to get to the front pack, which helped Philippe in the end.
And before we let you go, I want to ask you one more question. Donington or Snetterton? Which one are you looking forward to more?
Snetterton for sure. I like that track a lot more.
Well, who do you want to give a shout out to from that TT Racing team?
Well, first of all, to Justin. Justin just had his first win, and congratulations to him. Also, Philippe gave big steps in the championship, but everyone really, Greg, Adam, and Vinny that couldn't race today. Tuan, new acquisition. Yeah, everyone really.
Well, thank you very much. Then that is the driver. Oh, well, hi Philippe.
Can I say something?
If you'd like.
Yeah, I was so into that second race that I totally forgot that Justin won the first race, which was his first victory as well for TT Racing, nonetheless. So big shout out to him too.
Thank you, Philippe. Then let's go into what I like to call rapid fire interview mode. We're going to start off. Johnny Gundy stood by Jake Sperry. Go.
Two shoes and up against the machine, Johnny. It seemed that in that second race you were in all sorts of trouble.
Yeah, I was really annoyed at that entire race, probably a little bit more than I should have. I just wanted to be left alone a little bit to try and catch the train ahead after the pit stop. It would have literally only taken 3 laps to catch them, and then we could have fought for the win. But in the end, I've only got myself to blame because I did hit the wall of champions in the second to last lap, so I would have been second the last lap if they still had that incident, so that was also unfortunate, and no one but myself to blame there.
Do you think there should be a team's cap in the 2K World Cup?
Team's captain, what would he do?
4 to a team?
Right?
4 to a team?
What do you mean?
4 drivers to a team maximum limit.
Oh, okay. Nah, I don't really care. Most of the time, because it's such a competitive grid, you won't have literally all of the TT guys together during the race. So most of the time, it's not a huge issue. And I mean, if everyone at ERT shows up, we would fill the server. So I can't complain about that.
That much I could definitely agree with. So Donington, looking forward?
I've literally never raced it. I've only done about 25 laps there, so I don't really know. I'm definitely looking forward to Snetterton a lot more. I really like that track.
Well, that certainly seems to be the case. Two Shoes Gindy seems to have himself more than 2 hands full.
Yeah, he does. And one driver who came home today, well, almost winning the race. He came home in 5th place overall, Tyler Herviers, but you were 2nd place coming into that final corner. Is there anything you could have done differently to give yourself race victory in race number 2?
Not really much I could have done there. I didn't really have much practice coming into the race, so I don't know. I think if I just backed off a little bit earlier, I probably would have been able to make a single file going back into the final corner and just trying to get that slipstream to the line. But yeah, I'm quite happy with the result actually, considering how much time I put into practice. But yeah, I don't think much could have been done differently, and yeah.
Been one of your best sets of performances in the 2K World Cup ever, and you had yourself, how does it feel to actually now being able to be interviewed by us, to have really a race where you've had a standout breakout performance, in my opinion?
Yeah, I think it just came down to the starting position, starting on the front row. Most of the times I'm usually starting from like near the back end of the top 10, so yeah, it was a good result. Could have been better, but yeah, I'm happy with it anyway.
Are you glad that Philippe was still able to come home in 2nd place after you had that little moment which ended up in the 2 of you coming together?
Yeah, that was entirely my fault. I just took too much curb, so I'm just happy he could keep the position there.
Well, Tyler Hervey is coming then home in P number 5. And now, stand by with Jake Sparrow, the man who hopefully has finally sorted his mic out. Greg Zeitz for TT Racing.
Greg, a consistent day for you today, getting 2 solid results. Exactly what you needed to build momentum?
Yeah, I think so. I was actually sort of surprised. I've been not racing Skippy for like the last 6 weeks or so I just came back just a couple days ago and started practicing. So honestly, I was really happy with the result, and I thought our team worked really well together, especially Diogo and I. We do some GT3 racing together, so we know each other really well, and we were able to work really well. I really blew it on the second race, when I kind of had that pack and made some big mistakes, and then let Alfredo catch up to me.
Well, 2 good results here. You talked about your GT3 efforts. Do you think that this now opens the door for TT Racing to branch out into something more than Skip Barbers?
Yeah, I do think so. We've been kind of very slowly building up our skills there. We're still not anywhere close to where I'd like to be, but Twan will help us there, and there's also a couple other guys that he brought with him that already are GT3 guys, and so I think that's going to help us a lot. We plan on doing some more endurance racing as well.
Yep, and well, that's going to be the plan moving forward. Are you going to be around for Donington?
Yeah, I think so. This is, like I said, this has kind of been a transition year to focus a little more on GT3 for me, but the Skippy races are always super fun and super competitive.
Well, super fun and super competitive. Greg Sykes getting consistency to be his value, Will.
Yeah, indeed. So we're going to head ourselves now outside of our top 10 to Enzo Cantor. Well, Enzo, it's been an interesting set of races for you. You had some high moments. You had a couple of lower moments. Talk us through it.
Hi guys. Yeah, this is not my favorite track at all, and I was far away for work for 2 weeks, so I didn't touch the steering wheel for 2 weeks. A few practice lap, and then my qualifying was not so good. I was trying to recover positions. Then I took a slow down, but I was recovering step by step. Then finally, in the last laps of the first race, I don't remember who, but someone destroyed my car. So second race, starting from 35 or 34 position, so I almost did a miracle. I was wishing a final top 10, but I did some mistakes in the last lap, and I lost my momentum. I was very tired because today I was not used to race because, as I said, I was far away from 2 weeks. So I'm really happy.
Well, next race, Donington Park. Is it a track that you're looking forward to more?
Yeah, I surely like the track much more than this one, and for the second time I will be, I think, on the track with my new teammate Faim Antoniades. It was very unlucky today, more than me, so I hope we will do better both the next race.
Well, that is Enzo Cantor then coming home in P number 11, and last but by no means least, we have got ourselves a driver of Justin Tipton. Well, Justin, talk us through it, buddy. It wasn't good for you today, was it? In terms of the second race, the first race was fine.
Yeah, well, so the second race, Diogo and I were just going to hound Johnny, and I went in a little too hot, and Johnny tagged me, and that's just one of those racing incidents where generally if I wasn't trying to slow Johnny down, I wouldn't have got myself into that position. But I'm glad it worked out. I'm glad Philippe got second. So no harm, no foul. I'm not in a hunt for anything this season. So it's just a race.
And in terms of that first race, though, I mean, you've got to be really happy with that one.
I am. This time last year I qualified like 54th of 55 cars. So I'm ecstatic to see the progress happening.
Well, next time out, Donington Park, looking to try and replicate some of the successes of that race number 1?
Not at all. I'm ready for Snetterton to get here.
Well, we'll see you at Donington anyway, and hopefully you'll be good enough to get yourself on a roll to Snetterton. That is almost all we've got time for here today. I want to give a shout out, of course, to DES Simulation, the title sponsor of the 2K World Cup here on RaceSpot TV and on iRacing Live. And, of course, also to the guys that help us get it done as well. Isman Balau, TrackCams22.com for our TV cameras. Overlay design, support by Andres Warner and An1 Design. I was going to say Valtteri Bottas, his helmet provider as well. Sorry, that one didn't work out for you, Valtteri, today. Simon Grossman, appengineering.com for our overlay development, and Nick Thisson for Racebot TV, live timing and scoring. We're going to see you, of course, in a couple of weeks at Donington Park for the penultimate round of the championship. And yeah, it's getting closer in terms of that championship. Philippe Leber still has the advantage, but now he cannot put a foot wrong, and Brian Lockwood has some momentum heading forward, beating Leber in both of the races here today. Congratulations to having 2 new winners in the 2K World Cup. That guy over there has been Jake Sperry. I've been Wolfington. What a weekend's worth of racing we've had on Racebot TV. Check out our YouTube page, of course, for all of those races. You can watch them on demand as of every single race that we do. And of course, you can follow us on Facebook /Racebot TV, on Twitter @Racebot TV as well. Thank you so much for being a part of all of our coverage over the course of this weekend. Monday Night Skippies is on tomorrow as ever. That will be on at 8 p.m. UTC GMT. That's 9 p.m. of course in the United Kingdom. Join Rachel Whiteford, Linus Bromstrom and Connery Maddock for that one. But in the meanwhile, good night from Montreal.